What's there?
It's the original Old Raggamuffin podcast with my very good friend. We call him H the Boss, aka Harry. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, man. All blessed, I'm just thankful we started 2020. We're all breathing, good health.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Grateful.
And everyone's wonderful. Family, everybody's cool.
Yeah, man. The youths, them are blessed. Good connections. Yeah, man. I'm just happy. Like my younger, he was traveling the world last year.
Yeah.
So he reached back in September. So
Okay.
it's just nice to start 2020 knowing that like me and my two princes are here. It's just like nice.
And I find traveling is so important as well, because it just opens, it gives you so much knowledge.
Yeah.
Without even knowing, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's a great thing that he's been doing that still. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Well, we call him here because obviously we just reason anyway. But specifically, I wanted to talk about your book.
Okay.
When have you finished the book? Can I ask you?
Well, yeah. So that book was published in 2008.
Okay.
In 2008.
Okay.
But the copyright thing, the way they do it, they link it to academic years. It's a long thing, but so if you look it up, it will say 2009 publication. So.
Oh, right. Okay. I just asked. I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure when you actually finished it. Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
But the book itself is called
Working with Ethnicity, Race and Culture in Mental Health.
In mental health. Okay. And it's a book for practitioners, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
It's more based for people who work with people with mental health problems.
That's definitely
like that,
it. Yeah.
And the specifics of it are how they can get better results when working with people of colour, working with black people or from minority ethnics, BME as they call it, yeah?
Yeah, man.
So why did you want to do that? Why did you do that? It's a great thing to do. I want to know what inspired you to do that. Still.
Yeah.
Like, why?
To kind of put it in context, it's a funny thing because at the time I was an executive director in the NHS, like in a mental health trust. So that's like being on the board. So I was working at that level rather than being in practice myself. But I had an interest from a long time from when I was a social worker in the fact that a lot of black people disproportionately were being admitted to psychiatric hospitals, were being what's called sectioned. So like there are two different ways. You can kind of go in informally, like voluntarily, or you can be detained, which is like really, really bad for people. There are legal implications of that, but it's also, you can imagine if, I don't know, you were planning to play football, then go celebrate your friend's birthday next week, whatever, and then someone just turns up at your house and says, you got to go to hospital. And you say, well, now I've got this to do and it's my son's birthday, I've got to go, whatever. And they say, no, you have no choice. We're going to lock you up in this mental institution. You could be there for 28 days. You could be there for longer. And the impact on individuals is massive. When you put your mind into it, it's like, to just have your liberty taken away from you like that. And you kind of think, if you feel you're all right, but someone's saying, no, you can't leave hospital. It must be stressful. So because that was happening more to black people, and then like the use of the medication, it has like a bad impact on people, and that was happening disproportionately more for black people, and like all of the kind of really tough aspects of mental health seem to be affecting like basically my people more frequently. I thought, I need to kind of address this.
I completely understand. It's always weirded me out that living in a society that we do, and in such a multicultural society, that people still ignore the fact that there are differences within the cultures. And so then therefore to learn more about that individual case that you're working on, you need to understand their culture a bit more. As well as understanding the individual, you need to understand that culture a bit more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So when I heard that you'd done the book and everything, I thought it was like a wonderful thing still. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? And of course it's traumatic if someone's gonna come and take you and take you away and stuff like that. So what's the feedback been like? Have you had some really good feedback?
Yeah, I've had like serious reviews on that. So I kind of kept a little folder with the reviews, and that one of them was saying that if everybody in mental health read this book, it would change the whole system for the better. And it's kind of stuff like that, real positive, that it should be a standard handbook for everyone working in mental health. So it's been kind of pretty good. And people still tweet me or message me and say, like, just finished the book, that's like so good, really helped me. Like the most influential thing I heard, was someone in Oslo said that in their service, they got the book and they took one chapter every week and got everybody together and worked through one chapter per week all the way through the book because they thought it was that important.
Oh, with their staff, like a staff meeting. Oh, that's amazing. I like that. That's amazing. You know, because this is what this is about, really. You know, it's about people. We call them warriors. You know,
Yeah.
I call you an old ragamuffin still.
Yeah.
Got nothing to do with age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when we say old if anything, is ye old ragamuffin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I want to call you a ragamuffin because I feel people that are looking to make a change in society.
Yeah.
Means you're not really a conformist, you know?
Yeah.
Conformists just go along with whatever they're given, you know what I mean? Whereas a ragamuffin is a non-conformist, you know? So, boom, you get the title. Who goes there?
Yeah. I accept.
Who goes there? Oh, a ragamuffin. So I'm going to give you that title there still.
I
you
accept that joyfully. Definitely.
Oh, good. I'm glad you do. Well, you had no choice, really. You have to accept it. Once you get, you know what I mean, Kris? Once you get the stamp on your forehead, ragamuffin, and I that, you know what I mean? But, okay. So, how long did it take you to write the book?
All right, so the overall process probably took like 18 months, but the majority of the work happened in like nine months, say. It's just like last minute thing. But the funny thing, so as I said,
What do you mean last minute? Like, because you had a deadline?
Yeah, I had a deadline. I think I asked for an extension by a month. But other than that, I kind of was on top of it. But it was just like I kept reading, and it was the first complete book I'd written. I'd written a book chapter before that, but I'd never written a whole book.
Okay.
And the thing is, you get interested in a subject, and it's never ending. You could just read and read and read. So I think, all right, today I'm going to write a chapter on, I don't know, working with women who are black, say. And it's like reading about feminist literature. And you could spend an entire day researching that and not having written a single word. And tomorrow I'm going to start writing. And they did the same thing. So it was always slipping away.
Okay.
But yeah, so 18 months, but the main body of it was written in 9 months.
Okay.
It's, not that hard still.
You find it all right, yeah?
Yeah. And the kind of reason why I started off by talking about when I was an executive director. So I'm doing a job. At that level, when you're on the board of an organisation, you ain't doing a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going into the office from 8, and then sometimes you're there till 6:30, and then you've got evening meetings, board meetings, then you're doing urgent stuff on the weekend. So I'm writing a book around that kind of job and family life. So when you ask, was it hard? Like, there was the information in me to come out, but to find the time, what it actually meant was I'd get up at 4, right from maybe 4 until 7:45.
Okay.
Bathe, go to work, do that top pressure job, come back, cook, spend time with the family, sit down, reason, and then when everyone's gone to bed, stay up and write for 3 hours, and like maybe go bed at 1:30, 2, and sleep from then until 4. And just like for months, I was doing that.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was. Trust me.
That sounds intense, man.
I remember one year, so the kind of year when I was at the last bit, and it was my birthday, and my youths, they were younger, and my partner at the time, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to get you your birthday cake. So they left the living room to go to the kitchen to go and like put the candles on whatever. And in that space of time, by the time they came back in with the cake, man was zonked out. Like literally, I was so sleep deprived. Literally the time it took for them to leave the room and come back, I was asleep. It was hard.
Yeah. It sounds like it was very, very hard and very intense. But you know what they say still, most good things are hard, It's not an easy road, as Buddha say, you know what I mean? And if you're looking to make these influences or do these great bodies of work, then it takes a form of litigation still, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, that's some respect.
Yeah, man, respect for that.
I love that still.
And the thing about the book is kind of funny because I just meds in. There's a story about Miles Davis, jazz trumpeter. Somebody saw him like after a gig, just before a gig, and said, "Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing you play tonight." Said, "I saw you like last week, and like it was so brilliant. I really love the stuff you're doing at the minute." And he just looked at them and said, "But I don't play like that no more." And it was like in the space of a week, he was just basically saying he's evolving so fast that that was last week's stuff. I'm playing different. And in some ways, the book is really influential, and a lot of it is still relevant to where my thinking's at.
Okay.
But it's just like that's 10 years ago. Like the progress has been rapid over that period of time, and the ideas that are different, the way I'm looking at certain things. So I'll give you a specific. Sometimes in the area I work in mental health, people kind of say, oh, because, someone's black, then, this is something that happens to them. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently and thinking it isn't because they're black that something's happening to them. It's because people are being racist. Why this is, do you know what I'm saying? So we're always bringing it back to saying, oh, well, because, people are black, then they're kind of having poor experiences in education or poor experiences in mental health. It isn't because they're black. Because, just being black isn't...
That's not the root.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not the root cause of it. You understand what I mean? Obviously it's a factor because of the racism or because of the lack of knowledge in the culture or whatever like that. But you do tend to find that the wording makes it sound like that's the root of the problem. Like, if only you wasn't black.
You know what I'm saying?
No, maybe you should be learning like something else, just the same way that I've learned to deal with you, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And mental health is such a big thing at the moment, so it's very timely that we're doing this now as well. You know, because did you see was it last weekend? In the football, the FA Cup.
Right, yeah, okay.
They had a big thing about mental awareness. What they was doing was every game was starting a minute late. Oh. So if the game was meant to start at 3:30, it would start at 3:31.
Yeah.
And the idea was that that extra minute, everybody was meant to spend that minute thinking about themselves and do some well-being thoughts and stuff like that. They played a video and stuff like that. You didn't see it, no?
No, completely lost me by.
And the video was, the video was just more of an advertisement. So they had different footballers and managers and stuff like that talking about this and that. But it was nice that they're trying to bring that kind of awareness around still, because it is a massive thing that affects a lot of people.
Yeah, and the kind of all of what we've spoken about kind of links in a way, insofar as there's a traditional view of mental health that it's almost like there's this thing going on in people's heads, and one day their brain just stopped working, and then they start seeing crazy things or have crazy thoughts, and madness is just this illness, and people are really attached to that idea. And actually, the evidence is really convincing that when you've got traumatic things happening in your life, then it's going to affect your mental health. And the common person knows that. It's obvious. But the whole system is built around this idea that if we can just fix this thing inside your head, give you some medication or whatever, then it's going to be all right. And I guess the thing for me is I want to help people working in the system who are trying to deal with crisis to do it better. Yeah. But I'm also interested in, what's going on in society? Why, you've got so many people ending up with mental health problems. So another specific, we know, for example, that girls who have been abused as kids and even as teenagers or whatever, that they're more likely to end up in psychiatric care, right? So of the women who are on a ward, probably 50-something% as a minimum, but probably 85% are survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So the evidence tells us that. And I'm like, you got to see the link between the two things. So rather than just taking the individual and say, all right, let's treat them, get better at treating them, we need to kind of I noticed that Romain Virgo and other artists are coming out and banning out paedophilia and taking a stand a lot more. And as a society, and I kind of think mental health needs to say a lot more. Hey, hang on. What we're dealing with is the consequences of what's happening further upstream. It isn't just an accident.
So don't you find an annoyance of mine is when people say they're trying to, when organizations say they're trying to target a specific problem, they literally concentrate on that one thing and don't want to talk about the causes or don't want to talk about the effects that could bring on, Yeah. And you find that, because I'm hearing that's what you're saying. That's
exactly it. If I was in Jamaica now, I'd be saying, that. Exactly.
Again, on the other side of it doesn't. There's mental health issues which are smaller, if I can say smaller in that way there, and another big problem within that is the stigma of not wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because you automatically assume. You automatically assume that everybody, if you're going through that problem, you would assume that everyone's just going to think that you're a mad person and you should be sectioned, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be that severe, like, you know what I mean? So the stigma is another thing. You don't think that we need to get over as well?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Especially within the black community as well. There's a stigma about these things.
No, definitely. And it kind of links a lot as well with being like men, like setting the tone. So, yeah, as we kind of grow up from being boys into manhood, we keep getting these messages that, well, like, just man up, or like, even if you try and share something with your brethren, they say, yeah, and it's kind of tough, but like, you'll get through with it. And there's no space to kind of say, but like, right now I'm actually struggling. Yeah, maybe I'll get through, but like at this minute, I don't even feel like I can get out of bed. And it's like, come on, put some clothes on, man. Just like, and we haven't learned to just sit with the discomfort of kind of saying, you know, yeah, I can tell that you're struggling, and that's okay. We want to kind of move past that. So what people do is close in and kind of say, no one's really got the space or the ability to hear me out, so people just don't talk.
Yeah, you know, you just reminded me of something still, you know, of a friend of the family, and she basically went to like 4 different people saying, oh, I'm struggling and stuff like that. And everyone gives them word of encouragement, including myself. You know what I mean? I think I'm really guilty of that, actually. I just telling people, come being positive and I didn't really give her the time to talk, you know. And she volunteered, she sectioned herself.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that kind of opened my eyes to that fact that you can't just be like, come on, you could do it, just get up, get dressed, let's go on, and then move on. Forget about it, you know. I think if someone approaches you and says that to you, that means that they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
They're not looking for that instant G up and let's just move on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and social media is really useful for linking, but it also feeds this idea that if you send someone a nice meme that says, oh, like, yeah, we're all stars, you can shine, that's just going to make it feel better. And sometimes it just literally takes time. And so some of the stuff, like, yeah, in Old Raggamuffin, where you kind of talk about like how we become so obsessed with buying things and, like, you know, pursuing money and all of that. The whole thing's linked up in my mind, that we're so obsessed with ourselves and kind of pursuing, getting more and more and more, that we haven't got the time to just say to someone, if someone calls you and says, yo, I'm struggling, we just don't have the space to say, boy, like, tonight I was planning to do X, Y, and Z, but actually, come sit down, let's have a cup of tea and just talk. We would rather just send a meme or just say, yeah, you know, you can shine, and then we can go back to what we want to do. But if we were more happy with simplicity, you see me, we're not like pursuing wealth and all that, and we're just like, life's kind of okay, we'd have more space and time, and then we could kind of bring people into that.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, I agree with that. Like how you mentioned, I say that throughout the album, in all of my music still. But I've come to realize as well, traveling, like when we was talking before about traveling, and how it opens up your mind and stuff, you know. When traveling, I've always noticed the poorer the country, or the poorer the people they are, they seem to be happier.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of that, a high percentage of that, has to deal with the fact that they haven't got much to do, because they haven't got money to do stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And so their quality time with each other, the time that they spend with each other is much higher, you know. And they're always just so much happier. You know, and so time, how you spend your time is it's just that we need to make time for ourselves still. Yeah. We really do.
Yeah, no, and that's why, you know, a lot of people kind of say, yeah, Christmas, because I'm not a big one for that at all. But the people who seem to like talk about Christmas in the most positive way are the people who say, oh, it was great, I had time to spend with my family, or like having the time. It isn't like, oh, well, yeah, I always wanted a Rolex and I got that. That's like transitory. You open it and you feel the buzz, and then literally it's just like, okay, cool, I got that.
I think the reality of that, you know, because I'm not a great Christmas person, but that's only because of the story, the fable, the behind it. You know what I mean? But the actual time, spending time with family, come on, I never miss it for the world, man. Every day, I'm like. Every year, it's like, what are you doing? I'm going to see the family. We're going to link up. We're going to go and see the family. So, and I think that's the way that it's advertised to us as a material thing. And everyone does go out and spend more than what they could do. But I do understand the fact that you want to make somebody happy by giving them something. You know what I mean? You know, His Majesty said that, you know, you could find more pleasure in giving than receiving. So I do understand all of that still, but yeah, it would be nice if the media focus, the advertisement focus was on the time.
Yeah.
Not more than anything.
It's an interesting idea. And again, a lot of, I suppose, what informs the way I think is this realization that capitalism, it's not like a new realization, but it's kind of getting clearer and clearer, that the whole thing's driven by capitalism, that like it's designed to make us spend. And how do we design a system where what we want to do is to increase productivity and to increase like profits year on year on year? I mean, when you think about it, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, you know, there must come a stage where we've kind of made enough, and you kind of, okay, let's live with that.
Will we ever see that though?
No, I can't see it in our lifetime.
You're not going to see that in a capitalist system.
No,
you're not going to see that. You know.
And it's like now, I remember like when kids would have been happy with like their Game Boy, but like then it's like you want your mobile phone. But like if you give a kid just like one of them brick phones now, they're gonna look at you like, well, what am I gonna do with that? Because they don't want it to ring. They want to do smart activities on it like a smartphone. And it's like then they want their iPad as well. And then it's like, yeah, but I want a TV in my bedroom.
So I understand that, but going by that, don't you think a lot of that has got to do with just parenting skills anyway?
Well,
I mean, if in theory, I mean, I was like this with my kids. Yeah, they're probably, if they could speak to you now, they're like, yeah, like, they're probably complaining about it. You know what I mean? But if the parent hasn't brought into that, then the kids can't get it. Yeah. So for an example, my eldest, she wanted a phone at the age of whatever it was, 11 or 12, like that. I'm just like, no.
just straight, yeah.
It's like, no.
This is not a negotiation.
Like, and the mum was like, well, why can't she have a phone? I said, I never had a phone. Yeah. Like, yeah, but phones weren't made. Like, there wasn't mobile phones like that. I said, yeah, but it's you know, there's more to it than that. She doesn't need a phone. So the way that I viewed them having a phone, for example, was, and I said to all of them this, was the moment you're taking yourself to school, when you're walking to school and walking back, that's when I'm going to get you a phone.
Okay, yeah.
Because then I need to know that you're all right, and you need to be able to contact me, you're all right. But until it's a necessity, I'm not bowing to advertisements or what is the trend, and because him next door's got it, or because she down the road's got it, or because everyone in the class has got it, you need to have it.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it. So I think you have to take some responsibility as an individual, as a parent, in that way there, you know.
And I think that's the thing. And like as you were saying before, when there's an issue or a problem, people like home in on one thing, and it is like really complicated because what you say is like really, really true. And like my youths will tell you, there's a lot of things that their friends had that it's like, no, that's not how it runs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, that's cool. But there's also the fact that there are pressures. So let's just say the love of sugar, that you can kind of say in our family we might kind of deal with like not too many sugary drinks or whatever, but the food that you get when you eat out has got like sprinklings of sugar because the sugar industry is getting the taste receptors really accustomed to the taste of sugar. So it isn't just what you do in your family, you're working against the system.
Of course, yeah.
Or when you go to the checkout where they know you're going to be in the queue with the kids, that's where you got all the sweets. So it kind of makes it harder for you to say no because they're just there looking at them. Or what else is it? Like there's so many examples. So advertising had a specific shift where before, if there was a new toy, they would advertise to the parent to say this is new, whatever, to buy your kids. And then they clocked and they thought, you know what? If you can advertise it to the kids and get them, because they're with the parent 24/7, and if they then come in, I want this, so they designed advert so it taps into the kid, and the kid then spends. Daddy, can I? Daddy.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can daddy all you want. Listen, no. You know what I mean? No, I hear you still. So, and yeah, you have to bear in mind as well. I mean, you have to consider the pressures that the children are under as well. You know, because even then, that could then lead to bullying, which then could lead on to trauma, which then could lead on to mental health problems. Yeah. So you bear all of these things in mind still, but you know, another example a parent avoiding these things is my sister runs a nursery. Another one of my sisters runs a nursery, and they got children. I think Kris might even be like this actually. Their children are not allowed sugar. Okay. Full stop. Yeah, from the day they was born, they haven't been giving them sugar, you know, because sugar's a drug.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm addicted to sugar, like terribly. You know what I mean? It's a problem.
I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be.
Oh, it's a problem, man. And like sometimes I'm going off a bit. Sometimes I get myself off it, or I'm taking less.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it only takes. Sometimes it could be even an emotional thing, you know. And I turn back to sugar again, you know, like comfort eating and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it is a drug. So yeah, they do trickle it at you and stuff like that. But anyway, as I was saying, so these kids were not allowed sugar at all. So you know, like in nursery and primary school, when it's your birthday, they let the kids come in with sweets for everybody, and everyone's sweets and stuff like that. So it was this little girl's birthday, and she's coming to nursery with carrots. All like carrots chopped up. I'm just like giving them out. And the whole class is like, whoop.
I'm laughing. I can imagine.
No, but when my sister's telling me, I could not stop laughing because she's like, if you see these kids' faces, because they knew, they must have known like the day before or whatever, that it's what whoever's birthday, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to get cake and sweets. My girl come in with carrots, slice up carrots and things like that, you know what I mean? And it just freaked them out. But you know, yeah, the little girl grew up knowing that she doesn't eat those things.
But the thing about the sugar and the addiction is like, even in my own personal experience, right? It got. You remember when those Woolworths and they had like the sweets, the like mixed sweets thing. It got to the point, where I could, because I had it so often, I could put the sweets in a bag and just go, that'll be £1.27.
Everybody could do that. Everybody could do that.
And I could just know the way, you know, because I'd been doing that, which is terrible. And the thing that broke it for me, one time I was traveling with my younger Ras, and we were driving up, say we were going to Birmingham, and I said, I didn't get any sweets in the car, I didn't get any sweets. And we'd kind of gone a particular way, and we got to the Oxford, the big roundabout where there's a big Sainsbury's. And I remember saying to him, I want to divert and go into Sainsbury's. Is what for? I said, I need to get some sweets. And he said, no, you got issues, fam. Like,
oh, you was like, I need to go.
Yeah. I was like, I need to go and get some sweets. And I did go, but afterwards, I was like, meds in it. You know when youths tell you the truth? And I was like eating them, kind of thinking, no, this is not cool. And after that, my relationship with like eating sweets in that way literally just changed. Just like, so that's one, like there's a lot of things he's done that's been really helpful, but that's a big one for me.
I had a moment like that last week, you know, but I don't know if it's going to work as well as it is, but I'm trying to make it work still, you know what I mean? But I was at home, and Eli, my youngest, has come in, and he's just like, what, you've eaten that whole box of matchmakers, yeah? I was like, and I turned around and I looked at the empty packet, I was like, yeah, I have, you know. I mean, that's when it kind of sunk in, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, you know, so.
Yeah.
You say still, earlier you was talking about how the sugar affects your brain.
Yeah.
When we talking about mental health. Yeah, tell me a bit more about what you're saying.
Yeah, because the thing about sugar is that it goes into the bloodstream so quickly, and then it kind of acts as a stimulant. Then of course what you get is the reverse. So it's like you kind of get a high and then you get a dip. And then when you get that dip, it's like it creates this craving, so that you end up with this kind of up and down cycle. And then that's kind of the basis for the addiction, is that when you get the low, as a consequence, it feels like a wider gap. Because you've gone so high that like the distance between that high and then the low. So if you were just on a level and you kind of felt a bit flat, you just kind of feel a bit flat. But where you're feeling like energized and really happy, and then you drop below like your baseline, then it feels worse. So you kind of, I need to pick myself up. So even unconsciously, you've now created this relationship with, actually the thing that is going to pick me up really quickly is going to be carbs, it's going to be sugar. So you just kind of automatically do it, even without thinking about it. And you end up with this kind of cycle. Then it becomes a pattern where, like all addictions, you just kind of can't do without it.
Of course, yeah.
And then there are obviously the physical health consequences as a result of that.
I know. Sometimes the physical health don't come into it when you want that craving, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear that still.
And being an athlete, and I suppose often they say, like around change, that if you stop trying to do something, it makes it harder. But the best way to break a pattern is to do something different. So if, for example, you're like, okay, I want to stop eating sugar, and you spend a whole day thinking...
replace that habit kind of thing.
Exactly that. If you spend a whole day thinking, I'm not going to have sugar, then you're going to have sugar, and it's just...
I nearly showed my age then, I was going to say, like, when they used to say, if you're giving up smoking, take up knitting.
Yeah.
I don't know why that goes into my head, Kris. But you know what I mean? I remember that from very small, they used to say that stuff. So yeah, you need to replace it still.
Yeah.
I hear that still. So regarding mental health, I know I'm not saying that you're like this worldly expert that knows everything, but I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was saying to them, I said to them, I forget stuff, and they were saying to me, well, you need to eat some brain food.
Okay,
like eat some berries and stuff like that to help you with your memory and things like that. Do you know anything? Do you understand that?
Yeah. I mean, to kind of take it right back to mental health and then to get to the food stuff. Well, definitely, one of the things about mental health, where I said earlier on that it's treated as though it's just something in your head. And the evidence is a lot clearer that, like, our bodies are connected up. So what we put into our gut affects our brain. So they're seeing a link between inflammation on the brain and depression, say. And there are certain foods like carbs, like starchy, potatoy things that are going to be more closely linked with inflammation on the brain. Okay. So literally what you eat directly affects your mental health. It's not even just like tangential way. So there's that. And there are kind of foods that are better for you. So the kind of fruit and veg, and cutting out like loads of sugar, which will be really better. And some of the kind of properties of certain plants, whether it be beetroot or eating your dark green vegetables and things like that, and the berries and fermented foods, because it kind of helps your stomach. Those things will play into like better memory and better health.
This is another thing, sorry to cut you if I did. That's another thing that I don't think is advertised as well as it can be. When it comes to your diet, whether it's a vegan diet, plant-based diet, or whatever, is talking about the effects that will have on you mentally. As well as your physical shape, and it does make a difference. You're saying it will make a very big difference, man.
And it keeps coming back to this thing about like, when you've got a system like capitalism, or a system that's built in saying there are quick solutions, then like, people want to go change their nose, change the colour of their skin, want to go change bits. Like if someone has got a hangover, they think, I'm still going to go out drinking next week, but I'll just make sure I've got some paracetamol in the house. And it's just like fix it, as opposed to saying, what can I do? Like, in my lifestyle that can make a difference. And for me, that's the big shift, because we're still like looking for someone else to fix things for us. Like, and you can't drag your foot. You got to take responsibility.
You say you can't drag your foot.
I like.
Track number 5.
I'm that.
He's on it.
No, for real. But it's true, and that's what we need. Is more of a shift for people to be saying, well, actually, there's things I can do. Like, even with your mental health, get up, do exercise, do. So it's funny when you were talking about the football scenario, and I was like, how come I didn't hear about this, 1 minute son? And that's because I spent the last weekend in this, there's this thing called 5 Rhythms I do, which is like a movement and meditation thing. And like over the winter months, I spend 1 weekend. So it's literally all day Saturday, all day Sunday, just like meditating, moving. And that's kind of part of, like, it's one thing, like part of my practice, which is how to look after myself, to really try and move the tension. My job is stressful. There's a lot of stuff I do, and life is, and that stress sits in our body. So that's another thing about like how we think of stresses, like in our heads, but we carry it in our body. So I try and do stuff like mindfulness in a way to try and deal with that. And that's me taking responsibility, that I don't want to sit there and let stress get on top of me. I got to practice. So that's what I'm kind of saying, like what we eat, how we exercise, how we meditate, all that kind of stuff is really important. There isn't just like this quick fix that I'm going to kind of allow it it's not like allow it. That sounds derogatory to people who struggle. But I'm not going to let, for me, it get on top of me and then go to the doctor and say, oh, give me a tablet to fix it.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Yes, sir. What? Tell me more about that. What you said you was doing last weekend.
So 5 rhythms.
Was it fire or
five rhythms.
Right. Okay.
So the idea is there's someone called Gabrielle who kind of started this thing. And the idea is that you've got a wave, and in the wave you've got 5 rhythms. The first one is flowing. So if you kind of think about musical types or patterns, flowing is a kind of, very earthy moving, and then you got staccato, which is a bit more kind of choppy, edgy. Then you got chaos, which you get lots of African drumming and kind of wildness. Then you get lyrical, which is a bit more uplifting, and then you've got stillness, which is kind of real calm. And you can use the principle of 5 rhythms to apply it to anything from what happens when you're having sex to like the kind of nice lead up thing to the like mad thing, and then that nice cuddle, and then like when you're dropping to stillness, you might be drifting off into sleep, or it could just be a day where it's kind of you start off trying to find your way around the bathroom and all that. Then you got a busyness, and in the evening you can't reflect and think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like something you can apply literally to everything you do.
Right,
but
okay.
in the movement of it, what it tries to do is to get you out of thinking, to find different ways. So I'm going to give you an example that might relate to you. Like if you were to, I don't know, but if you were to kind of just sit there and say, I need to kind of write this lyric, and it's like 5 to 5, I need to finish by 5. That doesn't help so much. But you could just say, boy, I just need to run to the shop quick time, and you kind of go bopping down to the shop, or you do something because you get up and move, and then you come back, and then there's something there that it isn't because you've been sitting concentrating. It's like just by moving your body differently, it shifts things, and that's so true of many things. That if you just kind of, that's why people go for walks, people climb mountains.
Yeah, and a lot of people miss that, because I have to do that.
Yeah.
For me, like if I'm writing a song, for instance, you know what I mean. If I concentrate on it too much, like a deadline or something like that. If I'm listening to it too much, the block the wall just gets higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
I need to walk away.
Yeah.
I need to switch it off.
Yeah.
I need to turn music off.
Yeah.
Or whatever like that. I need to go for a walk. I need to go away and come back to it.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I mean? And yeah, I can see how that could be applied in all sorts of headaches or stresses in that way that you do need to walk away and then come back to it still, you know what I mean? I was even like that with the kids when they was younger.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm going to come back and talk to you about this in a minute, so, so we both could be calm and get this out instead of just the chaos all the time, you know what I mean? Just going out this calming period still.
There's a lovely quote about, I don't know who it could be attributed to, but this boy who's got this diagnosis of having ADHD, and he kind of wrote this thing saying, my ADHD or that doesn't affect me, or I don't have ADHD when I'm in the woods. And it's like, for me, it's so succinct, isn't it? It's just like, you put you in a classroom and say, sit there in your seat and do this. Of course you got ADHD. But when you're just out there climbing trees and just like, of course you haven't got ADHD.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that's even going on to something else now, whereas, we're all individuals.
Yeah.
And we all learn in different ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this idea of a class of 35 are all going to learn at the same rate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you're learning at that rate, that means you're slow. Or you know what I mean? I can't stand that. I can't stand that ideology.
I agree. And I think the whole system is designed in a way that it suits the people who have got power. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's designed, sit in rows and do all of this. And as you say, there's a lot of evidence in a school in America where they kind of get the kids, rather than put them in detention, they kind of get them to do some meditation, and that kind of changed behavior and really improved behavior standards, or get them to do yoga and kind of stuff like that. So all of this is linked to mental health. There's a guy called Bessel van der Kolk who wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and what he describes in it is
a good title. Go on, sorry.
And what he talks about in it is, say someone had a traumatic experience. It might not even be just a one-off experience, but let's just say someone had been to war and saw terrible things, or someone had been in a serious road traffic accident, and like that, your body actually remembers that trauma and it sits in your cells, and unless you do something to get rid of it, you're carrying this stress, and it might kind of come out in anger or whatever, but it's literally imprinted in yourselves. And he kind of says, partly what we need to do is, where people have been traumatized, is to get them to practice stuff, which means moving their bodies. So do yoga, do boxing, get them to go running or climbing mountains, and just move stuff out. So that kind of links back to my dancing stuff, but it links to mental health. Move stuff out of your body, because it's imprinted, like, in all of us.
Yeah. Okay. You made me think of two things now that I want to say. One, when you say move it out your body, I had a massage. I go for massages as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the best massage I had. I was away, and she actually, where she felt tension, she moved it down my arm.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? How she moved it down my arm and got to my finger.
Yeah.
And then she was like that.
Yeah.
She's like, that's gone.
Yeah.
And that's how she was doing this massage, you know, Kris. You know what I mean? And it's like. Yeah, so I understand that.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, now like that makes perfect sense. Because that was the greatest massage I've ever had.
Yeah.
She actually moved the tension, the stress down and took it out of my body. You know what I mean? The other thing was, I was talking to somebody the other day. I love how Jaja works, you know. So all these things just come together, Kris. You know what I mean? Like at the right time. So even just the other day, I was talking to somebody, and they was talking about. I'm trying to get this right. When you talk about the brain, it's neuro, right? Neurolinguistics.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Is it neurolinguistics?
Okay,
neurolinguistics. Yeah. And
NLP.
So they've just been doing a course on that. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she was saying to me is that what you should do, if you got to do stuff that makes you nervous, whether you talk in front, whether you got to give an assembly or you talk to people or something like that, you know. He said one of the things on his course was that, for an example, doesn't have to be this, but for an example, if you take your knuckle, choose a part of your body and rub it.
Okay.
Yeah? And you should do this every time you feel good.
Okay, yeah.
So like when the kids come home, sometimes when the kids come home it ain't good. But when something good is happening, like you had a nice meal or something good, like do that. If you can remember to do whatever it is you're gonna do, you know? And your body remembers that and treats it as a good feeling, you know?
Yeah.
So then when you're in that position of being nervous, you could go back and do the same thing, and that will help calm you down.
Yeah. I know that about NLP. Yeah.
Okay.
All of that stuff. And what that kind of also taps into is this thing about neural pathways. So I guess some people don't know that the neurons that like connect up our thought processes in our brains, they're physical. It kind of, it's obviously not like Wi-Fi. So there's a physical structure, and you get these kind of ruts. A bit like if you see a truck down a country path, and it kind of, you get these ruts that our thoughts and our thought processes end up dropping. There's tire tracks. Our thought processes, you might try and do something different, but they drop back down into those ruts, which is how habits end up. So whether it's like eating sugary stuff or whatever, there's certain things. So the anxiety, if you're going to give assembly or whatever, they come, I'm anxious again, and our thoughts are so accustomed to going down that route that actually what you need to do is to try and change the neural pathway. So like rubbing a knuckle is a way of kind of saying, you're going to try and reroute.
Okay.
So it doesn't just drop back down into that rut.
Yes.
It's going to reroute it back to that pleasure part of your brain. And then if you do that, you can then get to a point where you don't even need to like rub your knuckle, because you've got the ruts away from, this is anxiety provoking, to actually this is a really enjoyable experience. So that's the kind of thing. And it applies to so many things in life, and all the trauma stuff that we're talking about is all relevant.
Do me a favor, please. Explain what I just said again, because like the whole point of us doing these podcasts is it's just giving information to try and help people and try and uplift people. So can you just explain what I was saying? But I feel like you explain it a bit better than I did. Still, like of that little practice there. What I was saying.
So the kind of idea is we create these associations with things, and some of them will be linked to things in our childhood that we don't even remember. So let's just say, to build a story for people listening, let's just say you're in class and you were asked to read, like every child. And then when you did it, you fluffed up something, and then everyone like took the mick out of you.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's a racist term.
Took the mick. I've never thought about that before. That might be.
That's
but, okay.
linked to Irish. But like, if it's because I was trying to
I didn't even think about that.
And it's because I'm trying to avoid using the swear word, so I ended up using. So anyway, if people ridicule you,
extracting the urine,
out of you as a child. So say you did that reading in the class, that happened to you. So then you've now internalized the thing. Oh, every time I try and read, like I get it wrong, and it's the point of my most embarrassing time at school. Then if that happens a few times, you might even kind of get to 15 and have forgotten that this thing happened when you were 8, but your memory stores it, right? So then at 15, someone says, oh, can you just introduce this guest to everyone in the class, and your brain remembers this incident about the book, so you get anxious about it, and you go, oh my gosh, can I do this properly? And then you fluff it because you're anxious. So somehow your brain is like, I told you you can't do this stuff about speaking publicly. So now this has become your story.
Right, okay.
But we forget the individual incidents, but the feeling stays with us,
yes.
Right? So then this is why then you might become a teacher or something, and you're being asked to deliver something to assembly. And that's when the anxiety comes back, and you might not even know why you've got this anxiety.
Okay.
It's just there because you don't remember the specific incident. So the thing about like rubbing a knuckle would be if you can then.
It doesn't have to be a knuckle, though, does it?
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be the knuckle.
But we leave it as the knuckle because we don't want to talk about rubbing anything else right now.
Come on, H, don't start. Oh yeah. I thought we was doing really good so far.
No, sir. So, so if you're rubbing, we'll stick with a knuckle.
Yes,
that
sir.
what you're trying to do, as you say, if you can create this association that says this is a pleasurable experience. So it could be like, you're watching a great film, or you say, the kind of family member comes home who makes you feel elated. So what you're trying to do is to create this mental association of this activity of rubbing the knuckle is linked with something which is like a pleasure spot, a sweet spot for me. And once you establish that link, what you're then going to try and do is to bring something that was previously anxiety provoking into that frame of saying, this is something positive now, and it's reprogramming your brain. They talk about the relationship you have with it. You're reprogramming the relationship, so it's like, this is no longer an anxiety thing, this is a pleasurable thing. And if you do it enough, you can then reroute the way in which your brain goes. So as soon as you say, assembly time, it doesn't go pew and fly off down anxiety. You've rerouted the thought, so it's like, this could well be fun.
Okay. Yeah, when she was saying it to me, I was like, that's it made a lot of sense, and I'm sure it could work still. You know what I mean? So, I'm glad we spoke about that still.
Yeah.
You see, when you just said, if people taking the mick, and then you was like, that might be racist. I'm like, I never even thought how that could be racist. But how does this new way of the way that we meant to think? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like? Is it overcautious or what?
Yeah.
Because I know that I could say to you they're taking a mick, and that's all I meant is that they're extracting the urine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does it bug you out that you have to start thinking, maybe I can't say this because someone might get offended, or maybe you can't say that. Does it not bug you out, no?
Right, now, okay, so like a lot of my work is to do with this training around unconscious bias. And the evidence around it is kind of split because there's a lot that says it doesn't really work. But I'm going to talk about it briefly. So what happens is that there are patterns of speaking or things that we do that it's so common around us that we will use terminology and phrases without even kind of thinking of the implication of it. And it might not be that everyone is offended by it, but someone might be. And if you understand what it means, you might reflect on it differently. So a good one would be, I might come in and say, yo, King, blessings, whatever, and you can't feel good. If I walked in here and I just slapped you and said, yo, what's up, money? Then you're going to be looking at me like, H, don't
work for me.
that can't run. that can't run. Now, if you kind of grow up in a community where people are using that all the time, and certain communities in America where it's just like a sign of endearment and it's like your brethren, then you might even think because like you haven't even read the history. To you, it's just a word that means like my close brethren. And all I'm saying is that the words carry meaning, but sometimes people haven't delved deep. So I'm not gonna necessarily each time cuss the person and say like what you've done is just an outrage. I'm just gonna ask the question: have you thought about what it meant and how it could kind of affect someone? So let's go back to this thing about the Mick, right? The implication of that is like, you know, a group of people who are a bit like more stupid, and that's the kind of the backstory. So if you say like, taking and making it, kind of using an Irish name as a reference point, effectively you're kind of saying, yeah, we all kind of think that like Irish is a bit stupid and like, you know, should be mocked. And when you look at it that way, you kind of think, well, actually, I don't feel comfortable with that. But if I hear someone use the word, I'm going to kind of think, well, actually, a lot of people use it. It's kind of in popular culture. So I'm not going to attack the individual. I'm just going to say, have you even thought about this? And there are many examples of that.
Well,
like,
because I'd never ever thought about that particular phrase in that way. Do you know what I mean? Never ever. That's why it's just blown my mind. It's like, rah.
well, take half.
And I think, and then once you know, 'cause like you say, you know, everything is knowledge, and knowledge is power. You know what I mean? So once you know
that's
that,
it.
then it's your choice whether you feel comfortable or not in using it, or maybe you'll be more mindful how you use it if you're going to use it in that way. That's still, you know what I mean?
It's like a half caste, I was just going to say. Like when we were growing up, that was like, you know, black, white, mixed would be called like half caste kids. And then when you meds it, it's a bit like, well, you're half a son, like to kind of have been told all your life that you can't. It's like we've reflected and we've thought, nah, we got to call it something different. And it's that like, again, it wasn't intentionally discriminatory against a group of people, but when you get the knowledge, then you kind of say, yeah, this isn't so helpful. So we're evolving all the time.
Okay.
So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it doesn't make me feel like I'm walking on eggshells, because I kind of try and make it clear that my heart's coming from a good place. It's like when people are deliberately going out there using words.
I think intention has everything to do with it, you know. Like the energy has everything to do with it. Because I'm sure, I would really hope that most people who, even if they don't know me, if I was talking to a crowd, for example, or something like that, and I said, you're taking the mick or something like that, I mean, I'll be really surprised if somebody could misread what I meant by that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand the connotations that you need to know where it's originated from and stuff like that. So let's talk about the N-word then. Like how you mentioned the N-word then, yeah? I heard an argument towards it saying that the original word, like the country in Africa, Niger, it means emperor, emperor or king, or that was the original thing. And so then when it was when that word was taken up by oppressors, it was first used because that's what they were called. Okay. This person was called a Niger because he was royally, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then they then switched it and started using it as a derogatory term. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when you've gone back that far, how do you feel about the N-word now?
Right, okay. So I've kind of seen various things written about it, and I think there's the thing about internet and the kind of history is relevant that you've just given me. So I'm just pausing. I still have a problem with it.
I have a major problem with it. Like, I'm not like, go on.
And I see you asked the question. Mm-hmm. So basically, its use in current times has developed out of an extension of the word Negro. So, like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, well, even kind of going back to the late 1800s into till nowadays, its primary use has been an adaptation of the word Negro, and it was deliberately designed as a put down and a disrespect against black people, and most people who use it now are drawing on that aspect of its history, not the kind of prior history, whether that's...
But you say most people...
of any racial background are drawing on its more recent history. Okay. That's where it came from. So a lot of people, let's just say in rap, where people say, well, what we're doing is kind of taking something and reclaiming it. So that's the argument that supports the use of the word. The argument is, yeah, if you're going to use this thing, I'm going to take it, I'm going to make it positive, and it takes the power away from you. Because if you try and use it, I'm like, I already call myself that, and like I'm cool with that. So it's reclaiming the power. But I think that there's an internal, this is my view, an internal disrespect that what we're doing is we're taking on something that we know has its roots in something that is inherently negative, and we're taking it on. And I don't think we should do that. Because I'm old enough to still kind of be tuned into like where it comes from, you know, the kind of lynchings, you know, Martin Luther King and I overlapped briefly, but you know, I don't mean in terms of being contemporaries, but like I was alive for a couple of years before he died. It's like, you know, these things are in my lifetime. And
like, I mean, I understand the argument about taking it back and taking it back and taking the word back and using it as a power, and I see the endearment when people use it, if people grow up in those neighborhoods or whatever like that and use it, and I can see that they're using it as a term of endearment and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not my personal choice. But I do see both sides of that argument still, you know what I mean? But I just thought, when I heard that story about the Niger and stuff like that, you know, it just gave another twist on it still, you know what I mean?
But I suppose for me, it's kind of really complicated by my view about what race is. So I spoke about black, white, mixed, as if race is an absolute thing. And it is true that we look at people and we kind of have a sense of what race they belong to. But the concept of race doesn't really make sense. So in my background, like, a lot of people won't know that, like, say I've got Syrian, like my granddad or his dad was kind of Syrian, right? But you'd look at me and just kind of think I'm of Caribbean extraction, and that aspect of my identity gets lost. And there's a guy called Scott Plowes who wrote a book on stuff about prejudice and discrimination, and he kind of says 75% of African Americans have white ancestry. And then when you kind of unpick it, actually most people are mixed, and there is no real absolute, this is that race and that race. And genetically speaking, we're more similar than we're different. So each person's got 30 to 35,000 genes. And the maximum difference between an individual would be like around 1%. And that we're largely more similar than we're different. And that even genetically speaking, if you were to draw a circle, say, all right, so these people fit into the black group, these people fit into the white group, these people fit into the Asian group, then sometimes there is more genetic difference within those groups than you find across the groups. So genetically speaking, there is no tightly defined group who are black and who are anything. And the last point on that is, there's no real consensus about what we mean when we talk about race. So in England, you know, we can kind of think, oh, you've got black people, you've got white people, you've got Asian people. But even Asian people, like you're talking Chinese and people from the Indian subcontinent, does that even make sense? You go to South Africa, you've got blacks, coloureds, Asian and white. Does that make sense? You go to America, you've got like Latinos as a racial group, which we don't have here. And they start to look at it and you come in, no one even knows what we're talking about. So we think we're all talking about the same thing. The one thing we do have, though, is people kind of think they know what they're talking about when they're talking about white. And then there's everything else apart from that. And then what you realise is that the whole process of thinking about race is a way of saying you've got white as a norm, then you've got all these variations of difference. And you think, well, actually the science doesn't support it, and the purpose behind it was never in a neutral way of saying, oh, people just look different. From the minute...
No. It's a
hierarchy.
tool, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a supremacy tool, without a doubt. I was going to say something to you then, and that threw me a little bit there. But yeah, I understand you. I understand clearly. I mean, but obviously, going back to even the basis of the book, of your book, we still can't ignore cultural differences between people. And that's not a race thing, that's just where you live. That's where you was born, that's how you was brought up, that's how you was raised. You know what I mean? And those things can't be overlooked. And the more we learn about them, the better they are, you know? So exactly just like how what it says in your book, you know, if you're looking to help somebody with mental issues or whatever issues they are, you do need to have a background or a knowledge of their background is going to help you, even at the least in communicating.
No, definitely. And the thing about yesterday I did a course on cultural formulations, and one of the things about it is it can empower a professional, but it could also stand in the way. So let's just say someone said to me, they might see me with dreads and whatever, make all kinds of assumptions. They might kind of say, how does the weed affect your mental health? And I'd be looking at them like, well, I've never smoked a spliff in my entire life. Like, I grew up in the church, and then that kind of set a template. So it's like, it's just like, I never have. It's like, given the different set of circumstances, I'll smoke a spliff and be happy. But it's just like, I never have. And then I kind of got to an age where, like, I was doing my athletics and I was out of the church, and I never ever got into smoking weed. But people would look at me and make assumptions because they kind of think, oh, I know what your culture is. And there is a risk where people get training in a few things. They meet you and they come, oh, so you're going to be like this, and oh yeah, Rasta, so you're not going to drink. I'm like, no, pass me my brandy. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, so we need people to have the knowledge to ask the question and say, I wasn't sure if, but not to just walk in there and kind of think, I see you, I know who you are.
Yeah. Like, I'm open to the question.
Yeah.
The assumption is what can be offensive.
That's a good, yeah.
I'm open to the question, though.
That's it.
Like, the most annoying assumption I think I get, even when I'm traveling, so I'm not even from that country there, and I've had people come up to me, and whatever country I'm in, they speak to me in the native tongue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, English, you know what I mean? Part of Anglais or wherever I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
English, and they're like, oh, okay, you speak English? I say, yeah. You have drugs to sell?
Oh, man.
I'm like, but move, man. Like,
man, that's...
because that annoys me. That can annoy me. The fact that I've just said to you, I don't speak the native tongue, should suggest to you that I don't live here.
Yeah.
So, no.
I
don't have anything to sell.
X amount of stories about that same thing. Just like if I go to a festival and I come back and no one, like, I can't say if it happened once. I go enough festivals, and literally every single time I can assume that I will be asked. And I kind of say this is an interesting thing about how people's experience of the world is different. And it could be true about gender, that there's certain things that men don't have to think. Say I'm going to go out for a night out. I don't necessarily kind of need to think, oh, I'm going to have to make sure I've planned out my route very carefully, how I'm going to get back and let my friends know and all this. In the same way that women have to kind of think, boy, with these predatory men out there, it's just a different experience. So with race, it's true, like with my dreads, it is a different experience because people do ask these questions. And I know if I'm going to a festival, it's a given. And there's a certain group of people that wouldn't even enter their head when they're going to a festival that they're going to be asked.
It makes me laugh, man.
Have you got drugs to sell?
I'm like, no, English, yeah. You sell drugs?
Sell drugs. No, that's dull. But yeah, the culture stuff in mental health is really, really important. And the thing about culture is that it has meaning. So if someone's been trained in culture and mental health, often they'll kind of say, oh, like, you need to kind of know how people like want to eat and like how they might dress and what they do with their hair and how they pray and like, do you need to take your shoes off before you get into their house or whatever. But literally everything we do is going to be so informed by culture. So I remember one time, I don't know why, I had a toothbrush in my kitchen, right? But it was just on the side, and my youths came round, and they was like, why is there a toothbrush in the kitchen? And that question was like loaded because they were thinking, please tell me, H, that you haven't become one of those people that brush your teeth in the kitchen sink, right? And there's like a whole load of cultural stuff that sits behind that
You mean still? Go on anyway. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
But it's because you get this thing. But the thing is that if as a worker you're being taught about culture, there's all this stuff that you couldn't get, and you couldn't say in a little handbook. Oh, and whatever, don't try and get the person to clean their teeth in the kitchen sink and do that. You can't list out everything. Like literally everything we do is informed by culture.
Yes, sir.
So what you kind of have got to do is to kind of have an openness when you work with people that says how do you feel about this? Like literally everything. What's your approach to this? So you can kind of have enough knowledge to ask the question. But there's a whole load of stuff you can't put in a handbook because
of course,
it runs through everything. And it could be the thing that triggers over. It's like, so for me, I might be sitting there and someone says, "Oh, do you want a drink?" And then they pick up the cup and pass it to me by at the edge and put it in front of me. And they just won't even know that I'm just gonna sit looking at that drink, thinking mature dry. But
that weirds me out, man. I can't do that, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's worse if you're eating out and they do that still, but I can't do that. I'm not into that. That weirds me out, and it's just that. Yeah. It's your drink.
So, not my drink.
No, that's your drink, honestly.
And it's that kind of thing that because culture just runs through everything.
Yeah.
That we just need to be mindful when we're talking to professionals in mental health about work with other people's culture, that they don't just try and package it up as though you can easily tidy it up, because as we've already touched on one or two things, it just runs through everything.
It runs through everything, but it's also it's not just going to benefit you if you learn about other cultures. It doesn't just benefit you when you're dealing with somebody who's come from that culture. It benefits you in everything, because there's so much knowledge throughout the world, that is being missed over. This person's got this part of knowledge, and I've got this piece of knowledge over here. You know what I mean? When I go and learn that knowledge there, I'm going to bring it back here, and I can exercise it here if it's of use to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it just helps you deal with everything.
So would that be appropriation though, if you did that, just kind of went around the world and took certain things and said, "Oh, I'm going to use that"?
No, not in that way. No.
You know that conversation though.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to go and take somebody's style or go and take somebody's fashion, whether you want to call it fashion or something like that. I'm not talking about taking that and then trying to portray it as my own and trying to make profit off it. Okay. That's how I see it. That's how I define appropriation. But I'm saying, if I go somewhere, someone does that, and I'm like, "Nah, don't pass me the drink like that. If you're going to pass a drink, hold it on the outside." And they say, "Why?" And I say, "Because your hands is dirty. You don't know what's on your hand, and you put it on the inside. And I've got to now drink that." They've just learned that information. So now when they go back home,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can inform their people and they say, "Oh, you know what? When they do that, shouldn't do that, They could tell the kids, don't do that because you're putting the dirt on the inside for someone to drink in it. Hold it by the outside, you know what I mean?" So I mean it in that way. More than, I love that. Listen, I've got this, you want to buy it, you want to buy it. Can I have some more of that? Thank you. You want to buy it. That's a different thing, you know what I mean?
So what do you think about certain artists that would take a particular beat pattern, like a hip hop beat, and include it in their pop tune, and to kind of say, "Oh, this is pop hip hop"? Do you think that's appropriation, or do you think that's stealing from somebody else's culture without paying it homage?
I think that's the key, innit? It's whether you pay homage, whether you admit where it's come from.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing in music is original.
No.
Yeah? Let's be clear on that. So any modern music that you're making, that's being made now, has been done. Something of it has been done somewhere before, whether you know that or you don't know that. So I don't think you can. It's very hard for you to do something that's completely original. That chord has never been used before, or you know what I mean? So something's always going to be used before. But I think. If you're not paying homage to it, if you're not showing, if you're not admitting where you get it from, for an example, then when I had this tropical house phase, do you remember this tropical house phase? Yeah. So you got, who had it? Rihanna,
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, Rihanna had a tune on it as well, didn't they? And they was putting it in this bracket called Tropical House. And I'm like, no, that's dancehall.
Yeah.
They're like, it's tropical house. No, the category is tropical house. I'm like, it's not tropical house. It's dancehall. Yeah. That's when there's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the artist, because even Rihanna herself said, no, it's a dancehall rhythm. Because she got the rhythm from, was it Richie Stevens? Or something?
Yeah.
Richie
That's right.
Stevens rhythm.
Yeah.
So the problem was that with her, or maybe even, I don't know what Justin Bieber or anybody else has said about where that come from, you know. But when it's not, when they're not saying where it's come from, when they're not saying, my next single, no matter whatever scale you're releasing it on, you know what I mean. You could be Justin Bieber, you could be Justin Timberlake, you could be Ed Sheeran, whatever like that, you know. So whatever platform you're releasing on, whatever money's behind it, my next single is dancehall influenced. Then I've got no problem with that whatsoever.
A lot of people say with the Red Bull sound clash, have the same kind of criticism. So I agree with you on the thing that, like, if you acknowledge and kind of say, you know, I enjoy this, I grew up with this all my life, like, so I wanted to include some dancehall vibes in my new song, then that's really respectful. But to just like swerve that conversation, that's disrespectful. And a lot of people, and it kind of gets tricky, but the kind of whole Red Bull sound clash thing, you know, a lot of people are kind of saying, well, you know, at no point have Red Bull kind of come out and said very clearly that actually this is something that comes from Jamaican dancehall and reggae history that we're really kind of trying to celebrate.
But don't you think your head's got to be in the sand if you don't know that? To a degree, I think I heard them arguments and stuff like that, and there were certain things when I could understand why it came up, but like a lot of things, I'm like, your head's in the sand if you don't know. It's called a sound clash.
Yeah.
You know, if they'd have called it something else, then maybe I would have been a bit more riled about that. You know what I mean? But it's called a sound clash. And no matter, and everyone does it now. In every genre, they're all doing it, and it's always still called. I've never seen it build anything else but a sound clash. So I can't have a problem with that.
Cool.
Because anybody who has a phone or has a computer, if they really want to know where the sound clash comes from, you know, you can't avoid where it's come from. You can't avoid the history of it. So they've given it the same name. So I didn't really have a problem with that.
Okay. What's on sound clash? This is the question I really kind of was wondering. I'm thinking about today is, so your music like consistently is like about peace and, like, you know, not really kind of getting into violence, and in fact I can't remember the track, you'll have to remind me, where you kind of talk about losing your friend, and actually you do the opposite because you try and shine a light actually on like the real impact of what violence does, right? And how do you kind of think the sound clash culture is like, you know, it's killer sound boy, you know, part of your livelihood will kind of come from making dubs where like the whole rhetoric in a sound clash is about, we're gonna murder a sound, and how do we kind of bring together and for me it links with this thing about masculinity, kind of masculinity that is all about like, we're gonna shoot and kill a sound and all that, along with, well, actually we don't really want to cause harm to people in that way. How do you make sense of that?
Unfortunately, the times have changed, and violence is so much in the forefront that it's hard to separate and distinguish that. You know, in the days of me playing sound, I cut many a dub plate and said many a time, I'm gonna kill a sound boy tonight. You're dead tonight, you know. I'm gonna mash you up tonight, you know. And it was clear. It was clear to that generation. The difference really wasn't talking physical. Because I mean, as soon as you said that, like, you know, not all of the time, but most of the time, you'll be friends afterwards. You know? It's just a sport. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, times have changed, and as times change, you have to evolve with it, really. And so now it's harder. I mean, someone asks me to do a dub play, and they say to me, "Can you do it killing style?" I do it because that's what they've requested that. You know what I mean? And they're paying for that. So I do it because I know where it's coming from. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's hard to answer that question. There's still times have changed. I think you have to be more. You have to be wary on how you say things and stuff like that. But you know, I'm not gonna. As far as the sound clash is concerned, whether I was on the sound or I'm doing a dub plate and stuff like that, I'll say I'll kill a sound. This dub plate's gonna kill a sound, but I'm not gonna. You know, when you hear other lyrics saying, I don't know, you see the marrow from his head flying over the wall and all them things. I ain't got time for all of that foolishness because you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not going it. I'm not. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's levels. It's how far you take it, and unfortunately, in this time, everybody just wants to go to the extreme. Controversy sells. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so everyone's just looking to go to the extreme of everything, and that's why we're in a mess now with everything. You know what I mean? Because everyone just wants to go to the extreme. Everyone wants to be the furthest. So I think that's when you have a problem. I don't have a problem with killer sound.
Okay.
But I have a problem if someone has the lyrics and they say, you know.
Yeah.
Because and where the problem isn't necessarily with the dub plate, because just getting a bit technical. The dub plate is going to be a special of a song that they've had released.
Yeah.
In most cases, you know what I mean. So I've got a problem with that initial lyric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have a problem with anyone who's gonna graphically describe someone dying. Killer sound is just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool. So, so this takes into an area. So a lot of what I'm interested in as well is like women's rights, because we need to kind of realize that the stuff where it's like all male dominated has negative consequences. We spoke about some of that with regard to mental health, that like men haven't really been taught, like women are a lot more kind of able to articulate what they feel and to have good relationships where they can do that, and men don't. So 75% of suicides are by men.
Yeah.
The idea that like men are really good emotionally isn't borne out by the suicide figures. So it's like a really contentious issue. So I'm really interested in how we can not disrespect women and how we as men can kind of be better at understanding our emotions so it doesn't get to that stage that we're not killing ourselves. So in sticking with the sound clash thing, since we got there, sometimes you kind of get the your mum and the suck and all that kind of things. Like to me, that's like completely unacceptable, innit? So how do we kind of still have that rivalry? We're trying to find a way to because as you say, the dub is just like the thing you let off, but you got to let it off with some chat. And how can you really kind of get to killing the sound in the way we say, without then having to kind of use your Sutton hole, pee hole, or
very, very easily. I don't think that's difficult at all. I don't understand why that's difficult. And I haven't been to a sound clash, I haven't been to an event, a sound clash, in maybe 10, 15 years because of that. I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? And I haven't listened to it. I have a peek at when the world clashes on and they upload it or something like that. I'll have a peek, but it's very rare that I usually listen to the first round, then I skip to the one forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just everyone's playing the same tune, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But there's just no need for that. There's no need for that. It was never like that before, and it doesn't have to be like that now. It always used to freak me out that when they first started doing the World Clash, when it was over here, they used to have a round that said no profanity.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody managed to play that round.
Yeah.
The sound didn't stop working. Everyone was still clashing.
Yeah.
So why do you? And then as soon as that round will finish and it get to the next round, me can't cost but one now. Yeah. Like you're an idiot. It's a lack of intelligence to me.
Yeah.
It's a lack of intelligence to me. You know how sound clash should be played. How I believe it should be played is okay. Let's say I'm starting it, and I start the clash. So I'm just like, listen, tonight I'm gonna murder you with dub plate.
Yeah.
So it's clear from, yes, I used the word murder, but I said murder you with dub plate. It's musical murder tonight. Your song can't test my song. And this is why. Listen this tune here.
Yeah. Yes.
Why can't I do that? And then you're gonna come in and then to me you're supposed to come in and just say, well, you think that, but everybody know I'm better than you, because you see that tune that you just played, it's nowhere near as good as this tune. And then you play your tune. Why have I got to tell you? Why have I got to talk about your family?
Yeah.
Why have I got to say profanity and tell you to suck this or do something like that? For what?
Yeah.
For what? And if you look at it shows a lack of intelligence, man. It shows a lack of intelligence.
I was listening to the Stormzy and Wiley
Yeah.
thing, so keeping it into like, you know, very current stuff. And, you know, I kind of, there's a part of me that likes it, and I struggle internally. So kind of going back to this whole masculinity thing, like, I don't subscribe to like the need for the kind of sucking whatever and all that. I don't like it. I don't subscribe to it. But I do like the clash. And it will include some of that stuff that I kind of think, why are men always about the murder and the killing? So there's a part of me that's like, oh, is it just breeding this mentality that we're warriors, right? But so I struggle with it, but I like it. And I liked the idea of Stormzy and Wiley getting into the clash. But then the lyrics just defaulted to this thing about the family and the mother, and I'm just like, oh man, is there not a different path we could kind of take with this? It burned me, but I kind of think like, I kind of like the energy that they brought into the grime thing.
Well, the energy that you like, like the energy that you like and that we're drawn to in clash is that it's just that it's the energy.
Yeah.
There's more energy in it. It's just competition. It's whether you're into sport. It's like, you know, when you're racing, it's that energy of when you're on the track. You know what I mean? And it's that it brings a different energy. And I'm going off track a bit now, but the clash mentality, I kind of use it in life, you know, in a lot of things, you know, because it helps me reach a higher level.
Sure, higher level.
It helps you. It helps me reach a higher level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for an example, then, when we was doing this album here, when we was doing the Old Raggamuffin album here, both me and Kris was like, this album has to walk all over the previous two.
Okay.
So we was clashing with ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Old Raggamuffin, we wanted it to be at a level where it walks all over higher levels. Yeah. And it's supposed to walk all over the previous one because we should be better in our craft now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's the energy that it brings to a thing, you know what I mean, of trying to be better. You're just trying to better yourself. So that's why I'm not against the clash thing.
Yeah.
But why, when you have to take it to profanity and them things, I don't understand why you have to do that. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't looking at Walk Like Russell album and be like, suck him out. You know what I mean? Because then I'll probably have to come and talk to you about my mental health issues. You know what I mean?
But it's funny, talking about the album, it's funny where you said about that was one of your goals, because when I was kind of writing the review, and I think towards the end of it where I kind of said like, and it's undoubtedly like your strongest body of work, and I thought, boy, if I write this down, is Solo gonna look at this and think that like I was saying that the other two were good? But to me, it's like
not at all, man. Could you imagine if you just said something different? Could you imagine him saying, yeah, it's alright, but it's not as good as the last one?
Yeah, that's...
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's regression.
Yeah. So even when they... There was a time, I don't know if it still exists, I don't know what's going on, but there was a time a friend of mine was getting really annoyed because his children were at school, they're a lot younger than mine, and they was coming in with this ethos about it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like taking out the competition, the non-competitive thing. Yeah. And what do you think about that? I don't agree with that. Because I don't think you have to be disrespectful, and I don't think you have to be disrespectful or put somebody else down to be competitive with them.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I'm competitive to my core. And that's why I do my athletics. And I watched back, in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was watching back the video of when I got my national bronze. And the race
Congratulations,
ended.
by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was it looked, if you looked at it, it looked as though I caught up the guy who did get the silver. And it was so tight that when we hit the finishing line, he then tripped and rolled over and fell over because like we were digging so deep, and I didn't kind of just come off the bend and come, cool, brother's up there, that's all right then. Nah, you know, I was going for it, and it still burns me. I'm thinking, if I just done that, I could have got the silver, not the bronze. And that competitive streak is there, and I think it helps us through life. And like particularly when we can kind of compete with ourselves, as you say, then yeah, I kind of think it's really helpful to do it. But I think it's how we take it to another level where it has to include aggression. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Last summer, I was racing a 200. And there was this young woman, she looked like she's 17, something like that, 16, 17. And when we come off the bend on the 200, literally stride for stride, we were all the way literally side by side. And she won by 0.03, like 300th of a second. Literally a hair must have just crossed the line just before me. And when we finished, I smiled and I was excited. I was like, wicked race. And she just looked at me and walked off. And I was kind of thinking, yeah, she was probably bad mind because she saw some little guy with his grey beard. And like, I'll put her under pressure, she almost lost. So she didn't enjoy the competition. She was all about, like, she wanted to be the victor in it. And I kind of think that for me, that's a subtlety, that there is something enjoyable about the competition because it's a sport, not that I have to have a killer instinct. Yeah. Now, I get like even in the boxing ring, you don't want to go in there and just enjoy the competition. You got to kind of have the killer instinct. But there are levels to it. You still need to kind of hug the brother out there and then say, like, yeah, that was a good fight. Like, yeah, I wanted to win, but there's still respect.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, yeah, definitely. I just don't see why it has to go to that level of your trying, you know. Yeah, my favourite sound clashes ever being in, I think, are ones that were close, and then afterwards we was all talking about it and laughing about it, you know. Yeah. Those are the greatest ones. Yeah. Those are the ones that I've always enjoyed more. Yeah. Any that's ended and no one's talking to each other, someone's got a problem with me. I've got somebody now, up to this day, we clashed about 25 years ago.
Wow. And
I know if I see him today, he's not going to want to talk to me. And I'm just like, that's just so sad. Like, come on. Yeah, no, that's... I wouldn't say I killed him. I mean, it's a sound for sound thing. Yeah. I was on my sound and he was on his sound. No one else was on the mic. So it's like me against each other, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I thought it was very even Stevens. I thought it was a great clash, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's marred with the fact that, you know, he never wants to talk to me again. Yeah. And I'm like, why? Because I thought it was jokes.
Yes, it's fun. Man, you know it's fun. And I suppose that's why the problem for me is like when you take it to the next level about like talking about people's mother and doing stuff to people's mother and all that. Like how at the end can you just like hug someone and say, yeah, that was wicked?
Well, I don't want to talk to you.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't even want to carry on because I'm in a sound clash. I'm here to clash you with music.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love this music so much and we defend it so much that we're happy to go into competition with it.
Yeah,
you know? That's what it is. You know? Yeah. You got so much passion for it that you're happy to enter a competition to. You know, when people go to put their dog into crofts or something like that, it's because they love that dog so much.
Yeah,
that they want that dog to win and shine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're right there, Kris. And so it's a passion into that, you know what I mean? So it's about that. I don't need to. Why am I disrespectful? Let's keep it about the music, innit?
Yeah.
Let's keep it about the music. Yeah. Simple as that. Why can't I turn around and say to you, that was a nice Beres Hammond that you played. It was all right. What, you see me? If me advise Beres Hammond, me advise it like that.
Boom. Come on.
That's got nothing to do with what I've got to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it makes no sense. If anything, it's disrespectful to the music.
Yeah.
Going back to the sound clash then. Because there's no way I can conceive that when Beres wrote that song, for an example, he wanted it to be presented to be, like, before it was played, like, be proceeded with, suck your mother. Yeah. And then play the Beres Hammond. I know he didn't write a tune like that. No, I know he did not write a tune like that. No, and I know when he voiced it up, like, he didn't want it like that. You know what I mean? So you're not, there's no love for the music, then you're disrespecting the music.
Yeah. No, for real. So what do you think, like, for me, say, talking about Butch. No, I'm just...
It's a reasoning still, that's what we're saying.
I'm thinking about Buja, and I'm kind of thinking about the levels to which is at. So I just saw him put up something. There's a soundtrack he's on. I can't remember.
He's on the new Bad Boys movie.
Yeah.
Bad Boys for Life.
And I'm thinking,
yeah, he's Buju's on the soundtrack. But you know why? Because DJ Khaled, has done the whole soundtrack.
Oh, it's seen, so that would be a given.
Khaled's
then.
done the whole soundtrack for the album.
So when we were talking about appropriation, I was going to bring him up, but I thought let's not. But we've done that conversation. But I kind of thought, there's something about hope. I'm like really into whatever today feels like. Can I just believe that there's a possibility that like 5 years time, 10 years time, it could look different? And I kind of think when Buju first went jail, and like even when he was going through the court process, that like it must have been the darkest, the bleakest time, and it must just be so hard to imagine the possibility that it could be like this. Like he's getting tours where tickets are £85, whatever. And yeah, for me, like what gives you hope? Like for me, a lot of the time, it's just kind of seeing so many examples of it looked dark, but yeah, you see something different.
Yeah, probably the same still. I think probably the same. I enjoy seeing other people happy, and if I can be a part of that, that's what gives me hope still. Yeah. So when I see just that really, that's my thing. You know what I mean? That's the whole idea behind most things I do, apart from going to work, which I don't really enjoy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But even in that instance there, you know what I mean, the one of the best jobs the best job I ever had, not a 9 to 5, but the best job I ever had working for somebody was doing limousine driving. Okay. I used to drive limousines. Yeah. And for the simple fact that every time I turned up and knocked that door, I'm bringing joy to somebody. Because as soon as they see it, it's like, you know what I mean? So that's what keeps me going. That's what gets me off still, you know what I mean? It is that way there. And so again, anything I do, so even when it comes down to this and doing this podcast, the aim is to give people knowledge that they might not be receiving. Because these things aren't promoted, you know?
Yes, yeah.
These things aren't talked about enough. I think now are spoken about, but they're not spoken about enough, and they need to be accessible on every level, and not just on certain levels. So the more we can make it accessible. So if someone's into our music, or just happens to be a friend of a friend who's on my stream, you know what I mean, and they can hear some information, then I'm good for that still. Yeah. So them kind of things that keep me going still, you know what I mean? Yeah.
For me,
Buju, you said Buju, you mentioned Buju, yeah? So I'm for touching it.
Okay, yeah.
Not too deeply, but we're for touching it. It's a great, I hear what you're saying, that is, you were saying that it's a good story. You feel like it was...
Yeah, and that kind of problems with it. But yeah, just the thing about like you can get through it, and that the success journey isn't straight. People think like, oh, yeah, I'm going to build this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get it to build up, and then I get to this point. And often it gets into, like, as I say, even as an artist, where you might have 3 years where you're thinking, boy, like in the last 6 months I've done 3 shows, and it's like, boy, like things are dark. And then you have a year where you think, wow, it's fantastic. And it's just like, it's never a straight line. Yeah, so that's what I find.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think in that way it's a great story still, you know what I mean? But I'm watching him, you know?
But
I've got my eye on him still, you know what I mean? He's got
Because
because he's gone through that journey, self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Like you don't get no passes for me when it's self-inflicted, you know?
Yeah.
You don't get no passes for me at all.
Yeah.
So like when you come out the other side, and I'm glad you're out the other side, don't get me wrong, you know, of course I'm happy that you're at the other side. Yeah. But you need to show me that you're not gonna, that you need to show me that you know that you've messed up and you've learned from that. Yeah. And I want to see you show others don't go down that road.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no point in making mistakes unless you and others are gonna learn from it.
Yeah. And
there's no point in doing it. If you're gonna make a mistake and then keep it to yourself and then carry on like everything's wonderful, then what was the point of that? There's no point. You know what I mean? Like, you know, going back to children again. If I've done something wrong, you know, in life, I've always been with my kids and say, listen, I wouldn't do that if I was you, you know, because I done that.
Yeah.
And this is what happened.
Yeah.
I said, you remember all of that when all of that carried on? Yeah, that's because I done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's no point in making mistakes unless you're going to use it to learn yourself and teach other people. So when I say I got my eye on him, is I really want him to do that because he's in a perfect position now and he's been given a great opportunity to come back like that.
Yeah.
He's been given a great opportunity. So I just want him to use it to the fullest and not get caught. I was really worried at first that because there was so much hype when he came out that the hype and the ego was gonna take over.
Yeah. You know, and I'm
so when I said I got my eye on him, I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I'll give him a call. I used to do tour management, you know. There's a few artists I want to call. You mentioned Stormzy, you know. I said they're going to email him still, you know.
Yeah.
And they say to him, yo, make sure your people's looking out for you, you know. Because you're in a big position. Man's on BBC Breakfast.
You know.
Man was reading Bible scriptures on Christmas Day.
Is it?
Was it Christmas Day? He was on television and he was reading.
I don't watch TV at all.
Yeah. I never see it, but I heard that they've done that. And I'm like, you know what? That's a very big position that they're giving you, you know.
Yeah.
So please make sure there's people around him that's keeping his feet on the ground. Yeah. Because you know what these people are like. You know what the media is like. They build you up to knock you down, you know.
Yeah.
So you need people around you that's going to keep you like, don't do that because that could turn out to be a story. Don't do that. No, don't do that. You know, it's horrible. In a way that you have to constrict your life in that way, but at the same time you have to be sensible because these people will mash you up, and you have to remember when they mash you up, it's not just you individual, you know. They're hurting everyone who listens to you and everyone who follows you.
Yeah. No, I agree, definitely.
You know what I mean?
And for me, that thing about like accepting and owning up and I kind of hope that Buju takes it there, like in the album, that he will kind of say, you know, actually this is what kind of happened. I don't want him to just like gloss over it, because then I'm not going to be confident that he's learned. Same like you. I want to hear him kind of say, boy, you know, look, I took a wrong turn, consequences, like I'm just thankful I'm like back on road.
Yeah, we mustn't be afraid of admitting that something's gone wrong, you know, because it hasn't gone wrong. You just learn. That's how you learn. It's an experience. You know what I mean? There was a saying, I can't remember how it goes now, but yeah, you can't be afraid of saying that didn't work out or that I done wrong there. We shouldn't be afraid of that. The same way that we shouldn't have this stigma of afraid to talking about these things. You know, and I think that comes back to the original conversation, even with mental health and stuff like that. You know, that we have to get rid of these stigmas of being frightened to say that we're not feeling great, or being frightened to say I made a mistake, frightened to say things are not going well. You know what I mean? We can't do that. We have to be open about it, because not only is it going to help the individual saying it, it's going to help people around them as well who's hearing it as well, you know? You know what I mean? And we have to get rid of these things here.
I bought Old Raggamuffin and downloaded it onto a flash drive. So I was driving in the car when I first heard the track.
Say that again. You brought it and then you downloaded it onto the flash drive? Yeah. Okay. Say it again. Go.
So in the car, I'm driving, listening, and I hear the track where you talk about, you know, another relationship down the drain, and you kind of spoke about like having to talk to your children about like how like difficult that was, but it was some kind of acknowledgement that this wasn't just something that happened to you personally, even though you talk about like you talk about how it affects them. And when I heard that, I wanted to, at the next stop, text you and say, you realize that this is an act of leadership. So that was even before I knew we were going to get into this podcast thing. But I wanted to text you and say, that was an act of leadership, because what you did was to, as a man with a following, put out there that we can kind of talk about what this stuff feels like. And that kind of stuff where you're saying like with Buju, it's like, we're not just going to gloss over it. We're not just going to say, oh, that, and then move on fast. You went into it so people can kind of see it's okay to kind of say, actually, this stuff is tough. And I thought it was an act of, so I really wanted to, so I'm saying it now, I thought that was an act of leadership.
You're saying really? Okay. I thought it was important still. I don't know. Yeah, it's important, isn't it? You reach a certain age, you know, and I wish I learned it before, but you reach a certain age when you realise, you know what, I'm not worried if anybody thinks less of you for being honest, then that's their problem. Then it's better that your relationship goes in that. Then you know what I mean? Because I prefer honesty more than anything. You know what I mean? Honesty is going to draw me closer to you. You know what I mean? So I'm not afraid of honesty still. You know what I mean? And I just think it helps people the same way. You know what I mean? Talking of Stormzy done that on the album.
Yeah. How did he?
He's done it on his album. It's a massive move. Like he always said that he wanted the album to be more about him.
Okay, yeah.
But he broke up with his missus after making a mistake, and like he's spoken about his situation. My team's a blanket thing,
yeah.
But he's spoken about it. He made a song about it because he felt that he needed to do a public apology because the breakup was so public.
Yeah.
You know, and I admired that. I was like, he's growing up.
Yeah.
Not that he's not a man already, you know what I mean? But, you know, we're always growing, you know what I mean? We're always evolving, and I thought that was a big thing, you know what I mean? And again, it's good mental health.
No, definitely, yeah. And that ability to be comfortable with pain, it goes back to what we were saying, is that like often there's this thing, don't worry about it, move on, and to kind of say, but actually it feels rubbish. I remember years ago, it's an analogy that stayed with me. So we're going around Waitrose on Oxford Road with my kid's mum. She was my wife at the time, and the trolley clipped the heel of the woman in front of her. So she was like, she's like, sorry, as you do. And the woman just turned around and said, it hurt though. And I always kind of use it to kind of say, you can kind of say sorry and all that, but if it hurt, like you're sorry, don't make the pain go away. And just that reality that, sometimes just accepting that things hurt is a big part of it.
Yeah, man. I'm terrible in them situations, you know. Not terrible, I'm all right, but if that happened to me, I would have laughed. But I would have gone straight. I would have gone like, I'm so sorry. Did it? Are you okay? I would have been like that. But I would have been laughing at the same time. But I don't know.
That's crazy.
It's a bad thing, you know. Yeah. No, it's not a bad thing. But I just laugh a lot. But yeah, man, we have to be real, innit?
Yeah, and it's the hardest thing to talk about our dark times. You know, once you've moved on from them, we want to not revisit it. But I kind of think it's unfair. I remember when...
Is it even unhealthy? Sorry to cut you. Is it even unhealthy not to revisit it to a degree? If you've dealt with it, then it's not.
Yeah.
But if you to ignore it and brush over it, then surely that's unhealthy.
It is. That's why people kind of go and still try and feed that problem by like addictions or kind of repeating patterns because they didn't go back and deal with that thing. So I agree. But it's also unfair. So I kind of remember when I first started to kind of get into like serious big man relationships and kind of thinking like, I felt a little way still that like the older generation, like my parents or stuff, didn't kind of say love ain't just something that like you just kind of fall in love, you put the ring on the finger and then like you just live happily. Like actually,
why is nobody real about these things? Why does nobody tell you like? Why is everybody? Why does this dream still exist? Yeah. That some people who have been together for umpteen amount of years have lived this fairy tale where there was never a problem. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, I say it to my children all the time. I say, listen, when people have been together that long, that's because they've learned how to deal with when problems arise. It doesn't mean problems never arise. Yeah. They've learned how to work it out between each other. You know what I mean? You need to find somebody who you can work out a problem with.
Yeah, of course. You see, like you go and you celebrate the, Ruby anniversary or whatever, and you come, lovely couple. And then someone comes and says, that couple of years when she went to live with her sister in Florida. Like, what? They broke up. So, you didn't know, like Auntie Joyce and I didn't know that.
Why did that happen? Auntie, really?
Because people love to edit it out and say, we've been together for X number of years. So, no, man, there are times when you just like put your stuff in the car and like I'm out, and then you like after 2 or 3 days you can't think like no you got breathing time and you have to regroup, and you might even kind of have slept on the sofa for 2-3 months.
It's what it is, isn't it? But whatever you do to get through it.
Yeah, and you pull through. And the whole thing about relationships for me is, I want to like, and I say that to my kids, like, love isn't isn't a feeling that you get You like, and then you put the ring on the finger and it's all gravy. It doesn't work like that. That is like, it's tough.
It doesn't work in any relationship, whether it's a partner
True,
like that or
true.
even just a friendship.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to have the my closest friends are ones who I can fall out with.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can disagree about something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me and Kris Kemist fall out all the time. No, we don't. Not all the time, but we can disagree on things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can disagree on things, but we've learned how to deal with that disagreement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we both listen to each other. You can listen to each other's argument. You understand? And they say, okay, I hear where you're coming from, but that's not me. Let's move on. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, this whole it has to be perfect, or it's not. The one is like it's dumb. You know what I mean?
Nonsense.
Kris is hard working. I'm like,
I can imagine. But
Lucky I don't have a mic.
Kris is hard working. Him, that boy there.
I find so I do spoken
I'll
word.
leave you alone now, Kris ain't gonna buddy.
I do spoken word, and I find sometimes I want to write something, and I just can't put that down on paper. And just the back end of December, I was thinking I'm gonna find a half a day, and I'm gonna write a load of stuff that I have no intention of publishing or performing, and just see what I would write if I thought it would be private. Because the minute I go to write down like some of the hurt and pain and stuff that I really feel, I kind of think, no, this is too raw, or like I don't know that I can kind of deal with the fallout from this. So yeah, I was just kind of interested in that whole thing about like, you know, how do we find places to revisit that stuff and be honest?
I think like when you're just talking about when you say you're thinking about writing down stuff, and you know, I used to do these writing workshops in detention centers for people for people who's about to be deported or going through their case and stuff. So I used to do these writing workshops with them to help them get their feelings out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And two things I think, you know, just to say that if you're ever thinking on that way is, one, writing it down is the best thing you could ever do. Don't ever, if you're writing, for example, if you're I think if you're writing a song or you're writing spoken word, I think if you write it to perform it, you're giving yourself a harder task. It can work if you're an established performer. You can then write it from that angle. Like if you're not an established performer, I think you want to be writing coming from a place of you want to get it out. You want to get it down. Once you've got it down, then you can decide whether you're gonna perform it or whether it's gonna go out there or not. You know what I mean? But if you're thinking, if you start thinking about performing it before you've even written it, then you're not gonna write it true.
Yeah.
You're gonna write what you hope people are gonna want to hear. So if you cut that bit off, then just write it and then just get it out. Get it down on paper, and then if you wanted to, then okay, how do I turn this into a piece to perform? Then you could do that. And so what I was saying about the writing workshop is, one thing I said to them is, you don't have to, you know, it's metaphors, isn't it? I'm just teaching them about metaphors. You know, you don't have to talk about the subject. So once you've got the rawness down of what happened to you or whatever like that, once you've got the rawness down, you can say, all right, I want to put it out, but I don't want to put it out like that because whoever else is involved in that situation might not be happy with it or whatever like that, you know. You can easily change it. So for an example, obviously the biggest frustration for these guys in the detention center is how long they've been there. Because when you're in a detention center, it's not like it's like you're in jail, but it's not a sentence. So you don't know that you've got 6 months or 2 years, you know. You're taken off the street, you're put in this place, and you could be there a month, you could be there for 2 years. You don't know, and you don't know when your case is going to come up. But then on a Monday, they might come and say, you're in court on Friday. And you go to court Friday and you lose your case, and you're back on a plane to you know, and like I was dealing with people, I'm going off a bit, but I was dealing with people that were, you know, running from, you know, journalists. There was one guy who was a journalist, and he had to leave the country because he was trying to talk the truth of what was going on within the government. And so they sent people to his house. Like, you know, and if they'd have got him in custody, he knows he wouldn't have come back out.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you got that kind of trauma going through your head, you need to get it out on paper and stuff like that, you know. And so, so like the biggest frustration, as I was saying, was waiting for their case to turn up so they know what they're doing, because they're just in limbo, in jail in limbo, waiting for their case to come up. So, yeah, they're saying them to use metaphors. One of them wrote a poem saying that he was at a bus stop, waiting for the bus. You know? Okay, and all these other buses was coming past him, but that's not the bus, that wasn't his bus. Yeah. And he was waiting for his bus, waiting for his bus, waiting for his bus. You know what I mean? This is an example that you just flip it, but you're still getting it out.
Yes.
So you could get the rawness down, and then you could just put it into another situation, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I would like to go back to do that, actually.
Yeah, no, sounds very, very helpful and really positive.
That's what I was interested about the book still, you know what I mean? And that you're into these things as well. It's such a big, it's a minefield. I want to say minefield, but it's just such a big thing that all of us, a majority of us ignore. To get how important mental health is, you know, because it's just as important as physical health.
Oh, definitely. And that's the kind of problem, is that a lot of people, because you can't see it, you can try and work with something that's invisible to other people. So you could kind of even come to work and, like, boy, we're gonna edit this out, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I remember when. Got to edit it out, but I want to tell you. I want to tell you still. So I remember when I was seeing was it the boy's mum? But anyway, the long and short of it is that that's right. I'd broke up in a relationship with someone. And
remember the metaphors. Edit that. Go
on.
Blanket.
Yeah, and I kind of got into the situation where, like, I didn't want to interact with people outside of work. I'd stopped. That was in my first phase of athletics. I had stopped training. I just kind of dropped out of my connections and kind of enjoyed my isolation. And I just kind of remember going to work as a social worker and functioning really well. And then once I got to 5 o'clock, I could kind of go back to being like how I was. And it was just this kind of interesting thing to me, to hold this duality of go to work and be functioning. And I don't think there was any indicator to anybody there that when I went back home, I wasn't functioning like that. It was kind of really, interesting time of life for me. It always stays with me, just the kind of thing that you can't look at someone and know what they're going with. You can go, they're kind of getting on. It was my first job as a social worker. It's didn't tell the story.
It's good to go on to that, actually. I know that you got to get a training on, so please.
I looked and I got probably 5 minutes.
Good, But that's the other side, isn't it, of being there of trying to recognise when somebody's going through that. And it's really hard. People can't recognise. That's why you have to say. That's why you have to say if you're going through something. Because people can't recognise. It's really hard to see. I remember being in, I say in the song, the situation where I'm talking about, in that same song you're talking about transitions, you know. And I was away, I was in Slovakia for a festival. And I found out my brother had been killed. I don't know how, because it wasn't my intention, but I still ended up on stage. So I was just like on autopilot, you know what I mean? And ended up on stage, When I come off the stage, everybody said to me, that's one of the greatest times I've ever seen me before. Anyone who's seen me before, and the crowd was like, that was a massive thing, you know what I mean? So it's impossible for people to see what's going on with you. So you have to say, you have to tell people. I see a lot of people online saying stuff like nobody cares and stuff like that. And I'm like, I really hope that's not the case, but do they know? You have to tell people. You have to, the whole stigma of not talking about it has to be eradicated because you have to tell people. Because what you don't realize that you're doing is you're walking around with a smile on your face. You're turning up at school to pick up the kids. You're going to work. Whatever you're doing, you're doing that as you normally would do. It's only when you get home you switch it into the bad side. So it's not that people don't care. It's that you haven't told them because they can't see it. That's just my whole point. You know what I mean? It's just really hard for people to see that. So the stigma of not talking about it and being frightened to say, you know what I mean? Of course, obviously, you know, we have to be ready to receive that. So when someone says that, again, like what we said at the beginning, brushing it off. I've been guilty of that so many times. Brushing it, come on, you can do it. Be positive. Right. Brushing it off doesn't help. Sometimes they need the time to talk about it. They need to talk about the load before they could come up. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But we have to talk.
And what you said, you know, it kind of, in a way, takes me to something we never said, but I think it's really important. We're so good at telling the story about what this happened, and we'll take like 3 hours to tell our brethren about NDA, and then she looked at my phone and this and that and this, and then we'll tell the story in detail, feeling that by telling the story it's making us feel better. And what we don't talk about is what it feels like.
How that made you feel.
Yeah. And that is the bit that I guess I'm saying, like with the mental health, that's really, really helpful, is the more we practice kind of saying, you know, it isn't just that, you know, I got given my redundancy and like I'm really angry and I've got to go look for another job now. So actually, you know what, it made me feel like a piece of poo, and like, actually get out, I wanted to burst into tears in front of everybody, but like I kind of held it in. But and to like say this is what it felt like, but it's not good at it. And that then has an impact on mental health.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, if there's something I'll kind of say out of this conversation, it's just like, you know, if we can kind of find ways to practice, just kind of say, what does it actually feel like? Can I find a word or some words to say? Not just the story. The story is just kind of irrelevant in a way.
Yeah. To agree. Yeah.
It's relevant, but
it's relevant, but it is irrelevant because you're just dealing with the facts.
Yeah.
You're just dealing with the ingredients. You know, there's technique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's technique to making this dish. You know what I mean? It's all good that you've got the ingredients. You know what I mean? But the technique is what can bring out the flavour of it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we do need to say how it made you feel.
Yeah.
I think maybe if anything that I've learned from this conversation, and maybe other people are hearing as well, that if someone comes to you with something like that, you provoke that question.
Yeah.
How has it made you feel?
Yes.
I understand that's what happened.
Yeah.
How are you feeling inside now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And try and provoke them kind of question there still, you know?
Yeah, and I'd give a shout out to support that, like particularly with men. I'm not saying that like women don't need to practice it as well, but like for men, just because it's kind of knocked out of us, like, you know, to man up, and
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
So crazy that thing there, you know, where like like even the older generation men didn't even want to tell you that they loved you. Or stuff like that, because it wasn't manly to say that you love somebody. You know what I mean? Like when you take it to that extreme there, you're just like, what is going on them time? But you know, we know better now. You can't change the past still.
And the paradox is the stuff that we're talking about is the stuff that makes us alive. You think about like when people say, oh, like I went to this show, it was amazing, or I went on this holiday, or is the stuff where you feel stuff, right? You know, it isn't just that, oh, I watched this and I thought it was a perfect performance. It's because you're like, oh man, like that point I wanted to really dance, like everyone else was sitting down, but I could, and it's like, because and the stuff that makes us feel most alive is our ability to feel.
Yes, sir.
But yet still we're trying to kind of suppress it. So the more we feel, but the problem, of course, is the more we're likely to feel the joy and all that, opens up the possibility that we'll also feel the pain. So it's like a trade-off. In order to not feel the pain, I'm going to suppress my ability to feel joy. And like at this time in my life, I'm like, okay, if it means feeling the pain, I'm going to feel that, but I want to live more.
You know, I seen that, you know. I seen that. Oh man, I've got an example, but all right, listen. I've seen it. I've been in a dance. I was in a dance recently. And people suppress the feeling of enjoying themselves because they're frightened that of the counterbalance that it might be sad. So for an example, they prefer to hide in the dark and hug up on the wall and not dance and express themselves because they're worried someone's going to see them and not think that they're dancing very well. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know that.
That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
it, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, just to put it in a different terms, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, they're frightened to dance because they don't want people to think, they don't want other people to think that they can't dance well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one's watching you. Everyone's the stupid thing, innit? And even if they are watching you, that's their business, isn't it?
I can't think like, because I said this to people, why am I going to go spend £15 door entry to go stand up on a wall when my body is saying rock to the beat? Like,
so they're saying that man's paying £15 entry, they brought a new outfit, or even if it's not a new outfit, you know what I mean? They've taken time, they've ironed this, they've washed this, they've cleaned on this, they've put on this, whether it's man or woman, red, and they're looking really good. And then you're going to hide in the dark and stand against the wall because you're like... Because you're not, instead of expressing the feeling of enjoy, that's what you said.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know, instead of enjoying, expressing the feeling of joy, you're frightened because of the counterbalance in case it's not. You know what I mean? See?
Yeah.
So, brother.
Respect, man. That was a blessing.
No, it's a joy.
Trust me. Trust me.
Thank you. I feel enlightened, which is what you want to get from every conversation that you have. Really, it's what I want to get from any conversation I have, whether it's on the road, whether it's with the bus driver, or whatever. You know what I mean? So good times. Come on,
man. Yeah, man.
Love,
man. Yeah, man.
Say the book again. Just tell them what.
Yeah, it's Working with Ethnicity, Race and Culture in Mental Health, published by Jessica Kingsley Publishers.
Okay, brother, and it's written by Harry Sewell.
Harry Sewell.
Yes, you know what I mean, and it's for. It's a help for practitioners.
Yeah, that's it.
Who want to help people who are from ethnic minorities, black and ethnic minorities. You know what I mean? So if you're into that kind of work and you want to be better at it, which I'm sure you do, because I don't think you get into that profession because you want a wage packet.
Exactly.
I think you're a carer and you want to help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Big words, brother.
Yeah, man.
Good times.
Respect.
Old Raggamuffin. It's a Raggamuffin, you know.
That's it.
Old Raggamuffin.